Welcome to Outdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. Outdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to Outdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. All of us in business and careers need someone they can talk to share challenges and opportunities, question things you're doing, coach you up from time to time, and serve as a mentor. Maybe it's more than one person. And that brings us to our guest today. Whitney Kinne is the owner of Whitney Kinne Consulting. Whitney grew up in Missouri, received her bachelor's of science in agricultural tourism and agricultural economics from the University of Missouri. Together with her husband, Shane, the Kinnes have taken their experience and education to help organizations and professionals in agriculture reflect and refocus on their vision and mission in work and life. Stay tuned to learn what sparked their interest in focusing on agriculture, how they use their experience and enthusiasm to lift others to new heights, how they market their business, and the importance of work-life alignment. Welcome to Outdrive, Whitney.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you. I've been looking forward to getting to know you and finding out more about what you're doing. I think we've got a lot to talk about today. I want to hear about your approach to leadership coaching, and always like to talk about how people market their own services and, why you chose to focus on agriculture, which is sort of your niche. And then, with a lot of people in business today, how you balance work life. So I think we've got a lot to talk about. But before we get into all that, if you would, tell our audience a little bit about Whitney Kinne.
Yeah, so I am sitting in my childhood home right now, which is the home that we are raising our own family in. I grew up in Clinton, Missouri, and I was in 4-H and FFA. My dad was an ag teacher. My mom was an extension specialist. So I was very much a legacy in terms of youth leadership development, and just really have reaped the benefits of having a background in agriculture from such a young age. And so the business that I work in now with my husband is all about leadership development, executive coaching, organizational leadership development, strategic planning. We get to help everyone from the organization level to individuals and teams within those organizations. And so it's awesome to be able to use some of the skills that have been developed from such an early age and now help people live and work in a way that serves them and also serves the people that they are called to serve. My dad was the ag teacher here in our town, and I remember I was probably 4, and he would tell me to go order my own ice cream at the Dairy Queen counter. And if I didn't want to, he would just say, go show some leadership. And so I just think it's so awesome to know that those words and that encouragement to myself before I was even in school is something that is playing out today. And I've got, his parents and his grandparents and my mom's parents and her grandparents. There's just this ingenuity and this entrepreneurial spirit and high ambition in the family genes, and it's playing out now for our family and the work that we get to do to help others.
You're very fortunate to have grown up in an environment like that has driven you and motivated you to where you are today. It's interesting you mentioned 4-H and FFA, because in my discussions with different people that are involved in marketing and in marketing agriculture specifically, 4-H and FFA is a common thread that runs through many of their lives. And so I always like to ask the questions, what are your takeaways from those experiences?
That's a great question. And I do think it's a common thread. I think for me, it instilled at an early age a purpose and being part of a greater cause. And so I always knew, I remember in high school when I would fill out scholarship applications, I would write, I want to spend time with people and I want to tell the story of agriculture. And so that for me is what led me into ag journalism, PR, and marketing. But really, it's this idea that we're all connected and we're working together for a greater purpose. I was just with the Missouri Women in Ag group this week, and we were just celebrating the legacy that so many of us have and why we want to stay involved in agriculture. And for a lot of us, it did start because of organizations like 4-H and FFA that make it fun, right? So we're working in agriculture, but we learned how to make it fun because we were with our friends and we were growing up with other people who had like-minded interests. And that belonging and that community and connection is so important. And I think in today's digital age, we see that importance so much more because we can see what happens when we don't have it.
It's very easy to become detached.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the Women in Agriculture workshop, I guess, which I think was just in Sedalia last week. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it's awesome for me to get the chance to share my story of growing up in agriculture, being involved in the state fair, and now being able to empower women, specifically at that event, to really step into who they've been created to be and how they can show up as their best version of them. Because, back to the digital age, we see a lot of other people's lives that my grandma and my great grandma never saw, right? And so the amount of comparison that happens just so quickly at a glance of a social media feed can get us distracted from the life that we were meant to live, or the good things that we've been given and the talents that we've been given to use to invest in others. And so we spent time together just refocusing on what makes us unique and what matters most to us and how we can grow into the best version of ourselves so that we can show up for the people who are counting on us. And I absolutely believe that those women and the people that listen to us today, they are making ripple effects on the people around them. And so when we can all show up as the best version of ourselves, the people around us learn and grow from that. And we just have a positive impact on the whole world because of how we can show up better every day.
I love that perspective. And that Women in Agriculture conference had to be a super experience. And you mentioned, the impact of social media in our lives. And I don't want to jump way ahead, so I'm not going to, but I do want to get back to that because I think that is something that many people are challenged with. And so you can help all of us understand how to better manage the social media component of our lives.
I'm wrestling with it too, Cliff.
Well, it's an ever-going process, right? And just about the time maybe you've got it figured out, then something else comes along to distract you.
You've got that right.
Well, tell us about the path that led you to become the career and leadership coach that you are today.
So as a high schooler, I did want to spend time talking to people, and I wanted to help support agriculture and make sure that we were telling our story. And so I went to the University of Missouri. I got an undergraduate degree in agricultural journalism and did a variety of internships. Really was thrilled to be on that path. I loved talking to farmers and going out to different operations and learning what they were doing and getting to do the work that I really thought that I was created to do. And so after college, I took a position at the Missouri Beef Industry Council, and I was the director of consumer outreach. So I got to do that full time. Absolutely loved it. That really set a solid foundation for me, promoting agriculture, specifically beef. There's just a lot of fun memories from that season of life. And after about 3 years, I was contacted by one of my mentors and former bosses at the university, and they had an opening in the College of Ag, Food and Natural Resources for their assistant director of career services. And so it was just a great opportunity, and it was the right season to make a change. And so I took that marketing hat that I was wearing to help market beef to restaurants and grocery stores and consumers. And I put that marketing hat on at the college to help students market themselves as a resource for future employers, whether it was internships or full-time positions. And so that's where really this passion for helping people find their place and walk confidently on that journey really bubbled up within me. But I can see markings and milestones all through my life, because when I was 16, I remember I was thinking about this morning. I remember I bought a t-shirt at National FFA Convention that said, "Leaders are made, not born." And I remember that was one of my favorite shirts because I truly believed in that. And I still believe that. And so it's just this bedrock belief within me that says we can all grow and develop. And so after I was at the university, Shane and I had our first child. And so I worked for about 11 months after she was born, and the season just changed a little bit again. And I wanted to spend more time at home. Shane's career was very busy with travel. And so it felt like we were always going opposite directions and trying to manage having a new child. And so I got to be a stay-at-home mom for a season. And that was really special and gave me new perspectives that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And then we launched this business about 4 years ago as an intentional part of our journey to relocate to live in rural Missouri and be closer to family and be able to have more margin in our time to spend time with all of our family.
Oh, what a great road. It just seems like one step led to the next and to today. So talk a little bit about you and your husband working together, and then, tie in the part about Whitney Kinne Consulting and your organization and what roles you have and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2019, I started working with teams doing strengths-based development workshops. And I had the opportunity to learn from two incredible facilitators and leadership coaches. And in that season, it was time for me to develop something on my own. And I focused on the career and leadership aspect because people, especially alumni from Mizzou, they knew that they couldn't utilize the career services that students use, but they might have been 5, 10, 20 years out of college and they wanted to make a change and they didn't have anyone to help them proof their resume, prep for an interview. And so I really started with those two offerings. I did strengths-based workshops for teams, and then I helped do career preparation for mid to senior level professionals. And as time has gone on, and as Shane has joined, we have actually been offering a lot more team and organizational leadership development services because of the skill set that he brings. So he spent 10 years working at Missouri Corn, and then went to a company called Vivaic and did a lot of learning design and project management, and is now the executive director of the Coalition to Protect the Missouri River. So he brings the executive level organizational leadership development viewpoint, and I bring the same thing, but just we have different perspectives. And so we have enjoyed the process. So we've been working together in this capacity for about 13 months. And just full disclosure, the business right now is Whitney Kinne Consulting. And so when my name is on something, it was a bit of a transition for me to really accept partnership with my spouse, who is now a co-owner, co-partner in this. Before, we always joked for like the first 3 years of my business, I called him my board of director because he was the one person who, if I was thinking, should I do this? Should I do this? He was the person that I was going to. Side note, definitely want to just encourage business owners, business coaches are worth the investment because it has given me so much more expertise from someone who is actually in a position of business expertise versus letting my business be built based on what my husband says at 9:00 at night when the kids are in bed, right? So we both see such value in having our own external coaches because we're hiring for resources that we ourselves are still learning because we are new to this and we haven't ever been in business before. So as we've made this transition, though, it's just been incredible the number of organizations we've been able to help, both through vision, like leading strategic planning and setting vision and mission and priorities for organizations. But also we have clients who call us who are in a bind and say, wow, we have a big conflict that's happening right now. Can you help us through that? And I will 100% put Shane on a pedestal here because conflict management is not something that I'm just jumping for joy to work on because that's something that feels like a stretch for me. But Shane, one of his top talent themes is harmony. And so he is incredible with conflict. He's incredible at building relationships and rapport and being able to work through tense situations. His background is public policy, and he used to be applauded for how calm and cool and level-headed he was in a lot of heated situations where other people might not have felt so calm and cool. And he brings that and those talents into the boardrooms that we get to be in. And it's really awesome for me to get to see him thrive and know that the services we're providing are even better because there are two of us and people need each other, just like our teams need each other. Shane and I need each other to be able to serve our clients even better.
Well, I look forward to meeting him one of these days. It sounds like you guys have very complementary backgrounds and experiences that sort of allow you to do more together.
Absolutely.
Which is it's exciting. So now that he's on board from a branding standpoint, where do you go with Whitney Kinne Consulting?
Yeah, so that's been about a year-long conversation, and we are feeling really confident that we know the direction. And so we are working on putting those pieces into place now, but it's been good to take it slow. One of my talent themes is activator, so I like to make quick decisions. However, it's been interesting as I've been the one who's really said, let's slow this down. Let's not make a quick decision. Let's let it be well thought out. And that's one of the things that we work with my business coach on because we want to make sure that we're seeking wisdom outside of our own two minds because, like I said, we're new to this. And so the idea, though, is that it's bigger than just the two of us. And so we don't want to be limited by our last name. We want to be able to leave room for growth, and we want to be able to really have a vision beyond our resources at this point. There's a book I'm reading right now, and that line just stuck out to me that if we're going to show some leadership, let's dream big and let's know that the work that we're doing matters. And we want to be able to get it into as many hands of individuals, teams, and organizations as we can.
Sounds like you have quite a vision for what's ahead.
Yeah, we hope so. It's fun to dream. Futuristic is another one of my talent themes, as is ideation. So sometimes it's also helpful to have Shane because he can remind me that we need to rein it in and focus a little bit because as a solo entrepreneur, I lacked that sometimes. And so it's nice to be in partnership where he's as involved and invested as I am so that we can support each other.
Talk a little bit about these talent themes that you keep mentioning.
Yeah. So Clifton Strengths is a strengths-based development framework. Gallup is an internationally known organization based out of Nebraska. Dr. Don Clifton is known as one of the fathers of positive psychology. And in the 50s, he started researching based on the question, what if we look at what's right with people instead of fixating on what's wrong with them? And so from that, they have more than 50 years of research and development on this assessment. And so from the assessment, you can be given a report of 34 top talent themes. With my clients, I focus on the top 5 that is going to invest and really be committed to know all the 34 and be supported by a coach through all of that information. 34 is too much information because as human beings, we like to go to the bottom 5 and say, oh, how can I be more of this? But what Dr. Clifton realized was we can actually move the needle so much more if we focus on our top 5. And so these talent themes are all different categories. They took 250,000 skills and put them into 34 categories or buckets. And so we use them in our house. We use them with our clients. We use them with a lot of different relationships that we have. But our client teams learn about themselves, and then they get to learn about each other. And it gives them a common language to be able to say, oh, my activator got ahead of the team on this one. Or if I was leading a team and I had activator, my team member could say, hey, Whitney, I know that your activator is coming out right now, but my deliberative needs to have more time to think about this. And so it just gives teams the common language to recognize we're all human, we're all unique, we need each other. These things are not a bad thing, they're not a good thing, they're neutral, but we can have a conversation about how we interact so that the activator and the deliberative person aren't constantly in a battle with each other and starting to have bitter roots one way or the other because the other person just doesn't see it the same as them. And so it's just such a positive, healthy way to celebrate and move forward to get things done with less friction, basically.
Fascinating. Very interesting. Very interesting. So what kind of clients are you looking for to take on?
Yeah. So right now we serve a lot of organizations and businesses. The ideal client is an organization who says, you know what, we really want to refocus, we want to reflect, and we want to just regroup so that we can get back to the basics of why are we doing this? What are our priorities? Where are we headed? And so there are a lot of us as individuals, but also organizations and businesses who, because we are full of high achieving and ambitious people, we take on things and we start to have what we call mission creep. And so your mission just starts to get diluted because we don't focus on what's the main thing. And, we hear people say, let's keep the main thing the main thing. And working with us is one of the ways to do that because we get clear and everyone gets involved in the process and is in one room to have the conversation to say, yes, this is what we're going to focus on. And this is the direction that we're headed. So many people right now are feeling stuck. They're feeling burnt out. They're feeling overwhelmed. And so as leaders can reflect, refocus, and get their team all huddled back together, it's one way to take a lot of pressure off of a team that's maybe feeling overwhelmed, overworked, and really frustrated because they just don't know what the goal is. They don't have a specific target. Maybe they have too many targets. Maybe one of the really small targets is taking 90% of the time, and they're just not aware of where they're spending their time and their energy. So it's just an honor to be able to help those people dream. And I think it's the futuristic and the ideation and the activator in me that wants to help them really get clear, get focused, and then chase after those goals because that's where we see the action happen.
What's an engagement look like? Is it an ongoing relationship? Is it a one and done? Is there a variety of different ways you work with people?
It's definitely a variety. So we have certain clients that we are continuously working with based on whatever their needs are. And it's needs-based with all the clients, right? So they reach out and say, here's a problem that we're having. And then we get on a call and start to ask questions and get more insight from them. And so based on that, we build out what we suggest as our approach to things. And we view ourselves as partners with their team. So, in the work that we do, there is a lot of nuance, right? So we are never prescriptive and there's never a cookie cutter. We go to the drawing board. And that's the nice thing about Shane and I both working together. We can go to the drawing board and we can see different angles and we can present our clients with the solutions that make most sense for where they are, for their specific team. And the nice thing is we can adjust with our clients as we move through. So for example, right now we have a client that when we started working together, we could very clearly, they asked for something specific, but in our proposal, we showed them what we felt was a best solution based on our perspective. And we're really glad that we did, because had we come in for a one and done, they wouldn't have actually solved the symptoms that they're facing. And so we don't want to be just a Band-Aid for a buck kind of situation. We want to help get to root causes and help heal, right? So especially in team conflict situations, we want to help bring healing to wounds and not just put one and done Band-Aids, because it doesn't do any good for our clients if we come in today and in 6 months we have to come back because it didn't actually lead to a repair. And so we're really intentional about that and making sure that we think through those options and we present those options to our clients effectively. And so with one of the clients now, it is us continuing to be evaluating as we interact with the team what the next steps should be, because we are uncovering new things. And so it's sort of like a game of Clue, or it's just like being an investigator where you're just sort of slowly walking and getting curious and pulling on different threads and learning different things. And it's awesome to be able to do this work, because as professionals, we spend more time working than anything else. And I so deeply believe that it's important that we feel healthy and safe and secure in our workplaces, and not all professionals do. And so if Shane and I can support the health and safety and security and stability for professionals that are doing really great things, it's worth it, because I know that they're going home to be better parents and better spouses and better friends and family members, because if they feel taken care of at work, they go home and they're their best selves in their home. So I can see the ripple effects of this work that we're doing on the greater good of the world.
And that's a great feeling, a really great feeling. I'm guessing that your curiosity makes you both very good listeners, because as I'm listening to you, I think it very much parallels the way that we work with our clients from a marketing perspective. What kind of challenges are you having? What kind of opportunities are out there? And asking all those good questions, which hopefully leads to solutions. Because what we find is when we listen well, and there is an opportunity to help, that pitching an idea like that usually gets bought, because it's something that really hits home for them. And I'm guessing that works in your line as well.
Absolutely. We say, so a lot of the clients we work with, we also do one-on-one coaching. And we say the best coach asks good questions, because it all comes down to getting those details and getting to know that person and what makes them tick and what is keeping them up at night. So asking good questions. And that applies to everyone, right? So no matter what role that we're in, if we can ask good questions and be a good listener, we're going to go really far, because that helps us get to know the people around us and helps us become a solution and a partner in that problem-solving process.
Absolutely. So I can see how you guys could really positively impact both organizations and individuals, How do you get your message out? I'm guessing that a lot of the opportunities that you're getting are referrals. Are there other ways that you're telling people about your business?
Yes. So referrals and word of mouth is huge. And sometimes when I meet with my business coach, I say, I know I need to do more marketing, but right now it feels like we're at capacity right where we are. And so we do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn content just because what we are serving is a corporate organization, leadership, professional client base. We also will post on Instagram. I'll do Instagram more often than Shane does. But this was actually a topic of brainstorming for me this morning while I was out on a walk. I was just thinking, I have all of these things that I want to be able to share with people because I've seen the fruit of it in our business and in our leadership efforts and in our clients' efforts. But I have this tension between content creation and knowing that my own consumption of other content is keeping me from being present and engaged in this life that we've chosen to actively pursue. And so, Cliff, seriously, a concept that I have of how do I market well, but not be a distraction for other people? Because what I want them to be able to do, like my deepest desire is for them to be able to enjoy their life and feel fulfilled and content and be right where they are. But I'm not naive to know that we all have bad habits. So we're all spending more time consuming than we wish we would. So that was just the 30,000 foot question that I was asking myself this morning out in nature and not coming up with a solid answer, just asking.
Well, I think it's a great question, and looking at it introspectively like that is going to be valuable for you. You know, as I think about what it is that you're trying to do, you have already and are in the process of positioning yourself as a thought leader and an influencer. And so, you know, I'm sure that there are lots of people who would value your insight on a regular basis, whether that's through a podcast series, a webinar series, a video series, and using that thought leadership to attract new customers to you. And you're right, there's a lot of content out there, but at the same time, people are always looking for quality content and things that can help their lives. And that's what you do. So I think you have lots of opportunities. And yeah, for you, the challenge is, where do I prioritize my time, and how do I then distribute this information out there?
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I think that I value this conversation so much because it's meaningful and it's a connection, right? So like, it's not just me putting my voice out there, but it's us getting in real time to have a conversation that is shaped by both of us. And I like that. I like the depth. I like the nuance that comes from this versus
just pushing things out there.
Right. Yeah. And so now I haven't thought about that until just now. And I think it's also, I want to make sure that my tone is not, you should do this, right? Like I want to meet my clients and my audience with grace because they're already under so much pressure. I've been there. I'm still there, right? It's a moment by moment conversation I have with myself to remind myself, hey, you're more than what you do. You're more than what you accomplished today. Your identity is not in this. It's so much bigger than this. And so part of my answer is make sure that the content I put out is not one-sided, but that it's really has more depth. So thank you for being on the other side of the conversation to help me get to that.
Well, I'm honored to be here. And, you know, I think you just be yourself because you come across as very authentic, sincere, and have the desire and the passion to help people. And if you come across that way, your tone's going to be perfect.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I think that goes back to the comparison of earlier is when we watch other people and we try to be some version of someone else, we're never going to be as good as the version that we were created to be.
Absolutely.
We're a pretty bad imitation of someone else, but we're a really good version of ourselves when that's what we're focused on.
Very well said. So I know with your family and, you have a thriving business, how do you find that work-life balance? Because that has to be challenging for you guys.
Yeah, I think that we probably spend the most time asking that question. I will say that, and because you're in marketing and words matter to you, we actually don't use the word balance. We try to remind ourselves that we're in alignment, because going back to that, I'm a perfectionist, right? I want things to look a certain way, to feel a certain way, to be a certain way. And so balance really plays into this visual that there's perfection, that the sides are going to be equal and we're going to keep it perfectly balanced. But I've never found that in my life. And so rather than striving for that and always falling short, we've chosen to use the word alignment, because we can recognize, hey, my kids are at school right now. I'm working. This is in alignment. I will pick them up at 3:30 today, and I won't work until 5 because I'll be with them. And that's alignment. And so it is, but it's a mental process of when those thoughts come in, we just sort of walk them back out as we remind ourselves this is what we intended. We moved to rural Missouri so that we could have a different lifestyle, and that lifestyle looks different. It doesn't have to look like other people's lifestyle, as long as we are meeting our commitments to our clients and really prioritizing excellence, not only in the work that we do, but excellence in how we show up for our family. It does look different. And we're talking about a month into school. So it looks very different today than it did on August 21st, because life during the summer with kiddos is different than life during the school year. And I built this business. I had my very first emails and calls with clients while my daughter was in preschool, and my 9-month-old son was crawling around the floor of the church nursery next door to the preschool, because that was my window. That was when I could figure out when to work, right? My kids either needed to be sleeping or with grandma for me to do any work, because Shane had a full-time job at that point too. So it has evolved. It has been, that question of how do you manage between work and family is the biggest question that we ask in our family. And we are constantly checking in with each other to make sure that we don't lose sight of why we made these changes. And like I said, I was taking a walk this morning. It's the same property that I went and explored when I was 8 years old, out the back door of the house that I grew up in. And it's not lost on me that my kids get to have that experience now too. And I want to make sure that we are moving slow enough that it doesn't just whirlwind past us. And I'm very aware that it will, no matter how slow we try to move, but I'm trying to slow us down so that it doesn't move faster than it has to.
Well, I think you've got a pretty good handle on it from my perspective. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. It's a day by day choice, right? Like I almost didn't take that walk this morning because the to-do list seemed pretty long. And I have an email list that I write to every week. And yesterday's email said, breaks make you better. So how are you going to make sure to take a break to eat the lunch or get the bottle of water or take the walk or go to the bathroom, right? Like high achieving professionals that I work with are abandoning their own needs for the to-do list. And I want to help those people. I'm one of those people. I want to help all of us refocus and stay connected, because that's what keeps us grounded. And then we show up better in all of our roles, whether it's at the office or at home.
Well said, Coach.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed visiting with you today. You have so many inspiring ideas for people that can help them. I want to have you let our audience know, how would they get a hold of you if they were interested in engaging or just visiting with you?
Absolutely. So WhitneyKinne.com is our website. You can find my contact information there. We're on socials. Instagram is Whitney.Kinne. Find me on LinkedIn, send me a message. Also, I've got an activity I can send you if you want to put it in the show notes. that they could download and get some helpful tools to be able to walk through even their own values and priorities. It's a resource that started in our guest bedroom 13 years ago and was instrumental in my own career transitions over the years. And now we've been using with clients for years, and we're getting ready to do a couples retreat where a handful of couples are going to get together and we're going to spend 2.5 days together, really visioning and creating family missions and family values so that these families can be intentional about leading themselves and their kids.
That's fantastic. Yes, please send that to us, and we would love to include that in our show notes.
Awesome. So glad to talk to you, Cliff. It's always great to make a new connection and know that other people are excited about what's happening in rural Missouri and keeping that legacy alive.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks, Cliff.
Whitney, thanks for being with us. Folks, thanks for listening to Outdrive. I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with Whitney Kinne, co-owner of Whitney Kinne Consulting. Come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on Outdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to ecallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, Outthink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.